Warning, people. In this video, there be spoilers for the Suicide Squad. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it and then come watch this video. But here I'm going to talk about the 5 deaths in the Suicide Squad that bothered me for different reasons. And not because, I think that it was wrong or anything, it just got me emotionally. I was like, man, I didn't want to see that character go. There are a couple of characters on here, I wasn't so much sad to see them go, but from any kind of emotional perspective, but I would have liked to see them do more things for different reasons, but I'll get into that. Now, because this is a list, somebody has to go first and somebody has to go last. Just because someone is number 1 doesn't mean I'm more upset that that person got killed than number 5. It's just, it's a list, so somebody has to go first. So I'm going to start with number 1, Captain Boomerang. Now, I was hoping that Captain Boomerang wouldn't get killed because he's a big Flash villain, and I wanted to see Captain Boomerang go on to fight the Flash and be a member of his rogues gallery. But James Gunn made the decision to kill him off, like in the first 10 minutes of the movie. He didn't even get to stick around like the other members of the Suicide Squad and be running around with like Harley Quinn and Rick Flag and Ratcatcher and stuff. He didn't even get to do that. And plus, I'll bet Jai Courtney would have liked to continue sticking around. I think he gave an interview a little while ago where he said he would like to go on and fight the Flash. But, well, I guess we might not see that unless, in the Flash movie, since it does all of this multiversal changes, they magically whatever the Flash does to mess up the timeline brings Captain Boomerang back alive. Or maybe, he'll have a twin brother or something who will blame the Flash for, locking his brother up getting his brother locked up, busting him in Belle Reve, thus, putting him down the path to join the Suicide Squad and get killed. Flash, you got my brother killed in the Suicide Squad, I hate you. That could actually work, although a whole twin brother motivation might seem kind of silly. But, these are comic book movies, so stranger things have happened. Number 2 is the Thinker. Now, actually, I didn't care that the Thinker got killed at all. He wasn't a character man, I'm so upset that Starro killed the Thinker. But basically, the Thinker is also a Flash villain, right? So if he gets killed in the Suicide Squad, we're never going to see him be able to fight the Flash. Now, I know the Flash has a lot of villains, which is why DC felt that they could spare losing Captain Boomerang and the Thinker. But I would have liked to see them fight, their biggest antagonist and not get killed off just, so a bit too soon in a Suicide Squad movie, not even in a Flash movie, in a Suicide Squad movie. So I was a bit bummed by that. But, the Thinker is an easier character, I think, to have come back, right? Because he's a super telepath, so we could easily, put his mind in someone else's body and live on that way and go on to fight the Flash. So I think it'd be easier to find a way to bring him back than it would be Captain Boomerang, to be honest with you, given the kind of powers he has. And number 3 was Starro. Now, I know Starro may not be sympathetic because, Starro was kind of evil and killing a bunch of humans and stuff and willing to, wreak havoc in a city. But, I don't know. As Starro said just before he died, I was happy just floating around in space looking at the stars. And then he's captured and basically tortured for 30 years. Now, you could say that Starro's behavior, when he's, sending out his, spores or little, I guess, starfish babies to forcibly control people and kill them in the process, and, he's walking around as a kaiju messing up buildings and crushing people, it's I have no sympathy for that creature. But, he'd been tortured for 30 years, and that can do some things to somebody's mind, right? He was locked up against his will and experimented on and abused. That could drive somebody crazy and homicidal. Now, you could say, even so, you still don't feel sorry for Starro, because when he was caught in space with the astronauts, he was doing the same bad stuff up in space. And when he was controlling people, those scientists, he could have told them, forced them to release him and let him go back into space, right? He could have used his powers to free himself way before all of this. And then when Starro was actually back, when he was on the ground, released and wreaking havoc at the end of the movie, he was free. He didn't try to control people and ask the Suicide Squad, can you help me go back into space? He was just running around killing people. So, maybe Starro didn't really deserve any sympathy at all. He was just evil. But I don't know. I can actually see you making a case where he was perhaps a sympathetic character who was abused and tortured, and that might have helped him become evil. Whereas if everybody just left him alone, he would have been better and none of this would have happened. And plus, you know, I would have liked to see Starro go on to fight the Justice League or something, which will probably never happen now. But because Starro was a giant starfish, he was probably a character DC was never going to use because they thought that he was silly. So he was probably always going to be, you know, in limbo and never used until James Gunn decided, you know, I want to use Starro. So this is probably the only Starro we're ever going to get on the big screen because people thought that he was too silly. So I can understand, you know, why Starro was used the way he was in the movie, and I can also understand why we might just have to be thankful for what we got of the character. Number 4 was Polka Dot Man. Now this was one of the deaths that I was like, oh, I didn't want to see that guy go. I thought Polka Dot Man was cool, and I thought this movie did the character justice. I thought he had the makings of being, like he said, I'm a superhero. Like he could go on and, you know, be a member of the Suicide Squad for more movies. I mean, he had a very useful and effective power. I mean, shooting like acidic or destructive polka dots, they were very effective and lethal. You know, he could definitely be someone who could go toe-to-toe with a lot of villains and be effective on a lot of missions. And, you know, the way the character was written, he was likable and sympathetic. And he seemed like a decent guy. He had problems, you know, with his mother and stuff. But, you know, having problems or issues doesn't make you a terrible person. He was still a hero. And a lot of people, I think, were bummed to see Polka Dot Man go. They were like, oh, like when he got crushed by Starro. I saw the Suicide Squad twice. And in the theaters twice. And in both, you know, theaters, I did hear people go, oh, you know, when Polka Dot Man got crushed. So I was sad to see him go. And I think James Gunn did it on purpose. He knew that people were going to like Polka Dot Man and be upset when he was killed. You know, he was playing with those emotions because that's what storytellers like to do sometimes in these situations. And then number 5 was Rick Flag. What a crime, right? Rick Flag had a big hero moment in the 3rd act of the movie, and then that evil, nasty Peacemaker stabbed him in the heart and killed him, right? Rick Flag went out like a good guy, and he was actually, this movie made the character a lot better than the first Suicide Squad, 2016 Suicide Squad. It was a huge upgrade for him, and Joel Kinnaman, the actor, did a good job playing him. You know, we like to see the good guy win, so when the good guy loses and gets killed, that's devastating for us. And that's what happened to Rick Flag. But it is realistic, you know, the good guys don't always win in real life, and in this moment, the good guy didn't win in the Suicide Squad. That good guy didn't win. Other good guys won, but not Rick Flag. And I also think that James Gunn was playing with us in the end credits scene, right? When some of the members of Amanda Waller's, you know, what is it, tech or admin staff was like, you know, we hear them say a line where, oh yeah, he survived, he had heart trouble, but he's awake. And they lead you to believe the movie that they're talking about Rick Flag, that he survived being stabbed in the heart. But then when you get to the hospital bed, it's Peacemaker. And it's like, oh, you know, it's that dummy. Man. So, you know, James Gunn was playing with our heartstrings again. But like Polka Dot Man, Rick Flag went out really well. He got a good hero moment. He went out like a champion. And the movie and the writing and the acting did that character justice. So, Rick Flag, just like Polka Dot Man, you know, he went out on a high note, so to speak. But we were sad, and I was sad to see him go. So there we have it, the 5 deaths in the Suicide Squad that bummed me out. Because I thought that these characters, for the most part, they had more to do. Or could have, you know, gone on to do other things in other movies beyond just this one. But I guess, you know, that's why they call it the Suicide Squad, right? People die early and tragically. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like it on YouTube and subscribe to the channel because I appreciate your viewership, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.